Okay. So we have done some cases last time of motion of charges in the magnetic field. Let me take one more practical application today, and then after that we can move on to the next topic. Practical application of that, what we have done is cyclotron. Cyclotron is made up of two parts, semicircular parts like this. We call these semicircular parts as Ds. Their shape is like D, so we call these as Ds. So in these semicircular, these are made up of conductors. And if I have to draw in 3 dimensions, then it will be something like this. Means this semicircular part which we look from the top view, actually it is a semi-cylindrical part, we can say. It is a semi-cylindrical part with small height, small gap between the parallel surfaces. And the other semi-cylindrical part. This is the shape of each part. This is top view. 3 dimension. Now, if I do one thing, if I apply magnetic field perpendicular to the surface like this in cross direction, and a charge particle is from the center, I am making a charge particle move with some velocity. What happens to that charge particle? That charge particle will be, this field will be strong enough so that the charge particle will be making a circular path without before reaching to the diameter of this magnetic field region, before reaching to the end of the magnetic field region, I should say. So it will be just executing circular path inside only. Okay. But let us say I want to increase the kinetic energy of the electrons. Magnetic fields will not be able to increase the kinetic energy, we know, because magnetic fields cannot do any work. Magnetic fields are always perpendicular to velocity. Therefore, power supplied by magnetic field will always be Fm dot V will always be equal to 0. It means it cannot change in kinetic energy. Work done by magnetic field will always be 0. Then how to increase the kinetic energy of the charge particle if I want to increase? What we do, we make an arrangement. If you want this cyclotron, purpose of the cyclotron is to accelerate charge particles to very high speeds. That is the purpose. How this purpose is achieved? We take these conducting semi-cylindrical D shape Ds. Okay, we call these as Ds only. So in these semi-cylinders, magnetic field is perpendicular into the plane, and a charge particle is made to move with velocity v, but it cannot make it accelerate. So we need other arrangement. Other arrangement is we apply potential difference across these. Now you may think, if electric field is only doing the work of accelerating, and if we have to apply potential difference so that the electric field is created, why don't we make the charge particles accelerate inside a capacitor? Why don't we make accelerate like this only? Here also electric field will be there or not? It will be there. I can make the charge particle accelerate or not? Yes, I can make. And why don't we use this arrangement? Why do we have to use cyclotron? What is the advantage of cyclotron? Very high speeds we can obtain only in cyclotrons, not in such capacitors. Reason, first of all, if I take a actual capacitor, then the gap will be very small. Let us say I don't take actual capacitor, I take a modified capacitor. so that the gap is very large enough. Even then, even if I take maybe few meters distance or something, that will not be sufficient. It has to probably cover a lot of distance in order to gain very high speeds. So I cannot make a very, very large capacitor with maybe plates separated several meters apart. We can't do that. So what we do instead of that, we use this arrangement and we make the charge particle enter inside it here. And then it turns. Again, it enters in this region and again it turns. Every time while it turns, it gains kinetic energy. Why? Because we apply a variable potential difference across it. We apply a variable potential difference across it. So as a result, while it enters and it moves in a circular path, the magnetic field, the electric field exists only between the regions. It does not exist inside. So inside the path is only under the magnetic field. What magnetic field does here? Magnetic field has only one purpose. It returns the direction. It reverses the direction. Charge particle is going this way. It reverses this direction by making it move in a semicircular path. Then it accelerates again. How does it accelerate in both directions? First is what it was accelerating forward, then it starts accelerating backwards. Reason is this alternating voltage which is applied across it. We apply a voltage in such a way so that the charge is made to accelerate in this side also, and while it returns in that time also. I think you can understand what should be the frequency of this. Can you tell what is the frequency of external source required to be able to achieve that? What should be the frequency of external source required to be able to achieve that? The frequency of the external source should be equal to should be equal to the time period of the revolution of particle in the magnetic field region. What is that time period? That time period we have found last time. It was omega divided by 2 pi, which is equal to.
Sir, that is frequency, sir.
B alpha. Oh, that is frequency. Sorry. Okay, let us get frequency. Let us get frequency only then directly. Cyclotron frequency should be the frequency which we are applying here. That should be equal to B alpha upon 2 pi. That should be B alpha upon 2 pi. We know this does not depend on radius. Does it depend on radius? No radius term is appearing here. Alpha is specific charge per unit mass. Okay. So there is no term of radius dependent term, and it is very good for us. Every time its radius changes as it accelerates, because radius depends on
Velocity.
mv by qv velocity, or it can be written as v by
B alpha.
alpha. Radius depends on velocity, so its speed increases, then radius increases, speed again increases, radius again increases, speed again increases, and radius keeps increasing, and it moves in such a path here, then here, and then here, and then maybe here, and at last there's a small window somewhere from where this can be brought outside also at last. Okay, so finally it goes out of this, and then it outside there is no magnetic field, so it will be just going in a straight line path outside. No electric field, no magnetic field outside. Okay, it keeps moving in this semicircular paths every time and keeps accelerating in the electric field region. Why does the electric field region not exist in the Ds? Because these are made up of
Conducting materials.
And in conductors, inside the conducting cavity inside the conductors, yes, inside the cavity inside the conductors, the electric field is zero. So it just moves under the magnetic field region. But as it crosses the gap, in that time, this frequency also changes, and it is able to accelerate the charge particle. So we know what should be the frequency of this source of voltage. That should be just equal to the frequency of with which these charge particles move in magnetic field. Okay, are you understanding this part? What time it takes? What time it takes for the particle to reverse back? half the time period.
Half of time period.
And what time it takes for this alternating voltage if I apply, it also reverses its direction in every half time period. Let us say this is voltage versus time. 0 to t, this is the time period, plus minus. In every t by 2 time, it also reverses its polarity. Okay. So that is what we do here. Although there is one problem with this arrangement. You know what is the problem? Let us say I want to accelerate the electron. Electron is so tiny, it is so small that it starts attaining really sufficient high, and the purpose is also that only. We want to attain very high speed. It starts attaining very high speed soon, and once the speeds become very high, then theory of relativity comes into play. If I want to give a speed which is comparable to the speed of light, then the mass of electron does not remain constant. Mass becomes equal to m0 upon 1 minus v square by c square under the root. Einstein has given us this relation. So he knows that the mass does not remain constant and mass changes. This m0 was rest mass when the electron was at rest. But when it has velocity v, then the mass becomes this. If velocities are very small, for example, let us say even 1 kilometer per second is also small, very small velocity. 1 kilometer upon 3 lakh kilometers nearly per second. So, you know, this ratio will be so small that this can be neglected and we can say mass is nearly equal to rest mass only. Even if it is 1000 kilometer per second also, that is also much smaller as compared to 300,000, that is 3 lakh kilometer per second approximately, that is the speed of light. Then also the ratio will be very small, 1 upon 300 square. Imagine how small this ratio is. But the moment it starts becoming 1 lakh kilometer per second, then definitely this mass will change. If mass changes, specific charge changes. Specific charge changes, then the requirement of frequency will change. So this frequency, which is which we keep constant of the external source, that has to be adjusted, or some other arrangements, smart arrangements have to be made in such a way so that this takes into account of this arrangement takes into account of the increased mass also. Okay, so that I think is called as Betatron, if I remember it right, or synchronotron. I think I will tell you. It is, some question is given in Erodo based on that. When we will do that, we will be seeing what is this name. Anyway, right now it is enough for you. Cyclotron is enough anyway for us. Otherwise, also we don't usually do with the questions of increased masses, right? We don't do the questions of theory of relativity. So this is enough for us. Anyway, next we have this is enough, I think, in cyclotron. Let me take one example. The question of H.C. Verma. This is very thin magnetic field region, narrow magnetic field region. Magnetic field is, let us say, pointing inwards, and a charged particle Q moving with velocity, initial velocity v, is made to enter into it. There's a wall in the front at a distance d from this magnetic field region. This magnetic field region has small thickness t. This is d. We have to find out where does the charged particle strike as compared to the initial position. If I assume it to be straight line here like this, as compared to that line, where does it strike? So it will follow curvilinear path. It will come here and then it will slightly change its path and then it will strike here. After outwards, it will be straight line. Inside, not projectile. Why projectile? You are saying? Why are you saying projectile?
After coming from the magnetic field.
It is not projectile. As I told you, we neglect gravity. Are you taking gravity or what?
Yes.
We don't take gravity normally. In such cases, we don't take gravity unless they specify it. We neglect the effect of gravity. Okay. I think he may have mentioned also. I don't know whether he has mentioned it properly or not. Let me see what was his exact wording. This is a question here. So it is just 1 centimeter narrow magnetic field region. This is large enough gap, 95.5 centimeter. And let us do the question exactly then in its exact form. Let us try to find out the answer for this. Do it once and then tell me what is the answer that you are getting. Question number 42 of HCV. Data given is kinetic energy 32 kilo electron volt. Magnetic field strength is given 0.5 Tesla. And screen is at 95.5 centimeter away. Atomic weights are 39 and 41. Find the separation between the points where they strike in the stream. So there are two actually in this. One is of weight 39 and another is of weight 41. Mass of potassium ion is taken to be this. A is the mass number. This is practical application of separating the two isotopes by accelerating them. What kinetic energy we are giving? 32 kilo electron volt.
So 1 electron volt is equal to, sir,
1 electron volt is equal to what?
into 10 power minus 19 joule.
1 electron volt will be equal to 1.6 into 10 raised to power minus 19 joule. So 1 kilo electron volt will be equal to, means 1 kilo electron volt is the energy which this electron gains when it is accelerated through 1 kilovolt potential difference. Okay, 1000 volt potential difference if I take and I accelerate the electron through that, then it will gain 1 kilo electron volt energy. Q into V is the energy, right? So that is what it means. So it will be 10 raised to power 3 into 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 joule. That is the energy given to us. I can write it equal to half of m into v square to get the velocity. Okay. Mass of electron we know, not mass of electron, here mass of potassium ion, and it is singly charged. Singly charged, then I can take its what?
Kinetic energy.
Kinetic energy
32 given, sir.
Kinetic energy is given 32 kilo electron volts. Okay, then wait a second. This is not one. Right, sorry. 32 times 10, 1.6 times 10 raised to power minus 16 joules. That is the kinetic energy, which is equal to half of masses. There are two masses here. One is 39, one is 41. Let us take then. In terms of m only, I will get the answer. If mass is A, then it will become A into 1.6 into 10 raised to power minus 27
Sir, into
Into-
10 cube.
into V square. Into 10 cube also, yes. Into 10 cube. No, 10 cube. Where 10 cube? 10 cube already done.
LHL, sir.
Minus 6 I have written.
Okay, sir. Okay.
10 cube is already done. Now we can get V from here. What is V coming out to be? V is coming out to be 32 into 2, 1.6 cancelled, into 10 raised to power 27 minus 16, 11, and under the root, so upon A under the root. That is velocity. After that, when it enters inside it, it will take a turn, right? From here. Magnetic field strength is given to us. Then you tell me now, what would be its angle of deviation here? What would be the theta angle covered by it? Can you determine this theta angle?
Yes, sir. And theta is
We can determine this theta angle by understanding r sin theta is equal to t. R sin theta will be t. And what is radius?
3.16.
Radius is mv by qb, or v divided by b alpha. That is radius. Alpha is q by m again. So we can write it as that is, we will find it, and then after that r sin theta. Now this theta could be very small or large depending upon what is the value of r. If r is larger than t,
3.16.
then this will be very small. Then I can write r theta formula also. But if r is comparable to t, I cannot write r theta. I have to write exactly r sin theta only.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, 1 electron volt is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 into 10 power 6, no, sir?
No, why 10 power 6?
1.6 into 10 power minus 19.
That's right. Okay,
Why are you saying why 10 power 6? That is not there.
okay, sir.
So v by b alpha. Okay, right. Can you calculate now? It is somewhat calculation involved. Even if you want to use calculator, use it so that we can do it fast and get the answer. Anyway, what is v? V is this here. So we are getting 64, means I can write it as, I could have written it as 8
8.
into 10 raised to power 11, means I can write 5 outside.
5 into root 10.
Inside just root 10 divided by a is left. Okay. Now b alpha also I have to write here. B is coming out to be 0.05, means 5 into 10 raised to power minus 0.00 or 0.5 only. 0.5, then 5 into 10 power minus 1. What about alpha?
Running just
Alpha is
1
1.6 into 10 raised to power minus 19 divided by mass. What is the mass?
39.
We can take A, sir.
Mass we can take again a into
1.6.
a into 1.6. A into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 27. That is the mass. Then what we are getting now? V is 8 into 10 to the power 5 into root of 10 by a is also there, root of 10 divided by a. This is what we are getting.
Yes.
And after that, we have to compare it with the thickness. Thickness is given as 1 centimeter,
1
means I could
centimeter.
write it as 10 raised to power minus 2 meters. and D is given as 95.5, means I could write it as 95.5 into 10 raised to power minus 2 meters. And what it would be now?
Or we are getting approximately 316 meters,
Approximately 360
316 meters.
meters it is, right? So it is very large. It means we could have taken,
0.1 centimeter.
rather than r sine theta, we could write it just r into theta only.
Yes,
It
sir.
will be very,
Sir, A will be there. How can?
yes, A is also, what have you have done for A? He may have written A value. What A value you have taken? 39 or 41?
39 I have taken.
39 you have taken, right? Then we are getting very large value. For 41 also it will be very large only. For 39 if it is large, for 41 also it will be large only. Then I could write this just as r into theta. Theta will be very small angle. And in that case, we can now, I think this distance is known to us. Even if there is a slight difference between the angles, but as this will diverge apart at large distance, there will be enough gap. I think we can distinguish between them. There will be sufficient enough gap. So we can find it out now. Can you tell me exactly what value we get for A equal to 39? For A equal to 39.
31, sir. 31.6 centimeters.
Sir,
What?
315.6 centimeters.
315.6 meters or centimeters?
Meters, sir.
Meters. That is R1. What is R2? Or wait, why don't we keep the calculation for the last? Maybe some things again will get cancelled out. Let us keep the calculation for the last. What would be the time spent inside the magnetic field region? Time spent we can write as theta divided by omega. Will be the time spent inside the magnetic field. We don't need time spent also. We just need theta. Theta we can write as r into theta is equal to t. So theta will be the thickness divided by r. There are two values, so I will have two angles. The difference between those two will be theta 2 minus theta 1 will be t divided by r2 minus r1. And once I know that gap, then I can say the gap along this y-axis, let us say it is y-axis, one is y2 and other is y1, then that will also be found like this. y2 minus y1 will be equal to d into theta 2 minus theta 1. That is equal to d into t into 1 by r2 minus 1 by r1.
R1, sir.
Sir, by
R1.
95.5.
1 by r2 minus 1 by r1. So we can keep the calculation for the last. Maybe he has given us data in such a way so that the things may get cancelled out. That we have to check. Now at last we can put the values of D. D was 95.5 into 10 raised to power minus 2. T was 1 into 10 to the power minus 2 and 1 by R1. We have to take reciprocal of this. In this 2, which will be the common terms? Everything will be common except A values. So I will take remaining terms first. Remaining terms we are getting 8 upon 5 and 10 to the power 5, 10 to the power minus 27, minus 1, minus 19. What we get from there? Into 10 raised to power 5 minus 1, 4.
Minus 2, sir.
Minus 2 at last. Minus 2
Yes, sir, minus.
Into root 10.
into root 10 divided by, not root 10a. Into root 10a. Which I can write root 10a2 minus root 10a1. Or I can take root 10 also common.
Sir, reciprocal.
Huh?
Reciprocalness.
Reciprocal it is. So wait, that will be then again.
5 by 8 into 10 square.
Yes, this will be here and this 5 will be in the numerator. 10 square, then it will be above. 8 root 10 will be below. Right. It will be plus. And multiplied by what we have to multiply now? 1 by root A2 minus 1 by root A1. This set will be at last. This is the gap.
10 square and 10.
Y2 minus Y1. So we can find out this, just these calculations are remaining. From here we can get the result. And if we have to convert into centimeters, then I can again, or I multiply by 10 is about 2. Now you can use calculator, just leave it here only. We have understood the concept, we can do it. Okay. And let me take one other question, which is slightly more difficult than this, and that is solved example of SCV. This one, last solved example yesterday I told you. Okay. Let us focus on question only. Solution you can see from the SC Verma book, and I will just tell you what is the question here. This is the question. Electron is released from origin at a place where uniform electric field E and uniform magnetic field B exist along the negative y-axis and negative z-axis respectively. Means the case is where E and B are mutually
Perpendicular.
perpendicular. Find that displacement of electron along the y-axis when its velocity becomes perpendicular to the electric field for the first time. So velocity will become perpendicular to electric field. If I see this diagram, I think it will become perpendicular somewhere in this place. Here velocity will be perpendicular to electric field. Electric field is along y-axis. Velocity will come along x-axis. Okay. What we have to find? Displacement of electron. We have to find this distance. What distance it covers. Okay. Yesterday I told you how to do such question when electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. What is the easy way to do? Do you remember that? Have you revised or not?
Lorentz force will be constant.
Lorentz force, I will go into a frame in which the Lorentz force just becomes purely magnetic, but it has no electrical component. I have to go, and what was the reason, what was the condition for that? I have to go into a frame of observer. If you remember that observer should have velocity
P by B.
Huh?
P by B.
E value should be equal to minus of V observer cross
B bar. B.
So here I want to find VO. I know what is E. E is along minus J cap.
Minus J cap.
And use vector form. Minus also is important here. Don't skip minus, because otherwise completely different answer we will be getting. Velocity of observer is unknown, but I will take velocity to be perpendicular to B, but I have not yet decided what I should take. So I will take V into V like this. Let us take component of along V naught as unknown. That is V cap. Cross. Here I will mention B is along what is it?
Minus Z cap, sir.
Minus K cap.
Minus K
K
cap.
cap.
What is unknown here? In this case, unknown quantity is
V cap. V naught. V cap.
V naught and V cap. These two quantities. V naught I will get by this formula. Magnitude wise, I know E is equal to
E by
V naught
B.
into B. So V naught is equal to E divided by
By
V.
B.
But there is another unknown. Other unknown is what is this thing here? So I can cancel the magnitudes first. Cancel the magnitudes. We are getting minus J cap is equal to
Minus
Uh,
of my
minus
cap
of minus
cross J
minus
cap.
minus cancels. I will let me write minus minus cancel. Then we are getting J cap is equal to V cap cross minus K cap, which I can also write as K cap cross V cap is equal to J cap. So what should be V cap? Think about it.
I cap, sir. I cap.
V cap should be equal to I cap. It means I should take a observer. Let me draw a here observer. This observer should be moving in this direction with velocity equal to E
E by
divided by B, and that observer will be observing no electric field. See, it is so wonderful that for this observer there will be no electric field, and for that observer the path will be just circular paths, and circular paths are so easy to tackle. We can do it easily, and we can find out what height it. And one more thing, if they're asking what maximum displacement will the electron will be along y-axis, then that will be nothing but, if path is circular, along y-axis the displacement in one frame and in the second frame will be same, because their relative motion is only along x-axis. They have no relative motion along y-axis. So along y-axis their displacements will be exactly equal, as there is no relative motion along y-axis. So means even if I get answer from this question about what maximum distance it covers along y, that answer will remain valid for our ground frame also. Let us try to find in that observer's frame. But first of all, be careful now. Velocity initially, it is released from this released. It was just released, means its initial velocity was 0 in our actual question. But in the observer's frame, the velocity is not 0. What velocity I have given to this?
E by B.
Yes. Minus of
E by B.
E by V. So if I go according to that, minus of E divided by B. That is it. With this velocity of the particle, it is not velocity of observer, it is the velocity of the particle, the charge particle. And is it positive or negative? It is negative charge particle, negative electron. So for electron, remember the direction of force when we find. What is the formula for direction of force?
Will be
To
opposite.
V cross B, it will become opposite. Why? Because it has negative charge. So don't think about V cross B only. What is direction of V? Minus I. What is direction of B? Minus K. What is the direction of force? One more sign will negative will come here. Why negative is coming? Because electrons have negative charge. Okay.
J cap.
This direction of magnetic force will be along V cross B normally, but minus V cross B for which charged particles? Or negatively charged particles. For negative charged particles, it will be minus V cross B. Then I have to think what is V minus I minus K minus again, then it becomes, I think, K cross I, which will become J cap, right or not? It just becomes equal to J cap. So how the electrons will turn then?
Upward.
This will turn. Force is in this direction. Magnetic force is in this direction. Let us imagine there is a center somewhere at a distance. Let me make these lines bigger. Let us say there's a center somewhere in this place, and path turned will be now. It will turn into circular path I have to make. Let me try to make this way. Are you understanding why I have taken this circle upwards here in this way and this way, right or not?
Yes, sir.
And what is the value of this location of center from, what is the distance of location of center from origin? That is equal to radius.
MB by QB.
R is equal to
MB by
MB by.
QB.
So this center will be at a distance 0, MV by QB in our frame. Okay, in the observer's frame. So in observer frame, the motion is so simple, so wonderful. Just circular motion comes back again in the same place only. And if it so happens, then what would be the path seen in the ground frame? Can you imagine about the path seen in the ground frame? Just guess what would be the path seen in the ground frame. Answer we have already obtained, I think. Do you know what is answer? Okay, let us get the answer first. Answer is nothing but twice of r.
by QB, sir.
Answer is 2 mv by qb. So maximum distance which it covers, that maximum distance is equal to y max is equal to 2 mv by qb, because it is equal to 2r. And it's let me write in usual formula, otherwise some students will get confused. Our usual is this is r, and r is equal to 2 into v divided by omega. Omega I write as b alpha. That way you can think, and that I can write it as again as he said mv by
Alpha is equals to
Q
Q
B.
by M.
alpha is q by m. Now v is also here unknown. We have to write v in terms of e by b. Then 2 m e divided by q into b square. That only. That is the answer. How easily we are getting answer, but it is not that easy also actually, especially because it depends on learning something. What we have to learn in order to be able to do this? We have to learn that E is equal to
Yes,
minus
correct.
of V cross B. If you can imagine a way to learn it easily, if you can do that, then no problem. But if you can't learn this first step itself, then obviously you cannot apply this. So how to do this? It means you should know the that thing also, how we derived it in the first place. You remember how we derived?
Yes, sir, in
Okay.
ground frame
Uh.
and in S frame.
If you know that, and if you do have practice on that, Otherwise, you will be forgetting it in the examination, and definitely everything will go wrong after that. So please have practice on that. Then we will be getting answer easily. Anyway, there are other ways also, and I will prefer to take one more method. That method is also slightly different from S.C. Verma's solution. So I will take two methods, and both I will take as different, because the one which is given in S.C. Verma, that you can see from there also, right? So I will take one more method here. Let me take that one. Oh, no, first of all, what is the path followed in the ground frame? Can you tell what is the path?
Variable bits along.
Not helix, not helix. It is not helix means.
Two-dimensional helix.
Sir, it will be.
But wait a second, you are coining a different term. This spring is a helix. How can there be a two-dimensional spring? Tell me first. How will there be a two-dimensional spring? Don't say such things. It is not two-dimensional spring, nothing like that. It is not spring-like path. What we will see, notice that after every time period, it is coming back to the same x-axis. It is touching the x-axis after every time period t. What is the time period t? That time period is equal to obviously 2 pi by 2 pi by b alpha. After this time, it is touching back the x-axis. In the ground frame, what was its velocity initially? 0. So electric field was downwards, its velocity was 0. It gained the energy only because of electric field first. So in which direction it will gain the energy initially? Electric field will accelerate the electron in upward direction. It will start going upwards. It will go maximum up to this here. And then it will return back, and it will touch back again x-axis. While it touches again, its velocity will again become 0. How do I know? Because only thing which can do work is electric field. And when electric field is doing positive work as it is going up, and it is doing negative work as it is going down, so net work done by the electric field in this entire journey will be 0. So therefore, the change in kinetic energy should be 0. Again, it gains 0 kinetic energy here. Its kinetic energy again becomes 0, and then the process repeats. So rather than saying helical, it is not helical. We call this path actually cycloidal. What is this path? Cycloidal. Reason why we call it cycloid. Let me show you analogy why we call it cycloid, and what this path looks like. If you take the wheel of the cycle and take any point on the wheel of the cycle, let us say the bottommost point. If I take the bottommost point on the wheel of the cycle and the cycle is this wheel is rolling, what you will observe then? This point will follow what kind of path? It will follow this path here. This path it will follow. It will reach again here. This is the wheel. Diagram is not right at that way. Let me try to correct it. Now I will take a line here, horizontal line. Now from this is the cycloidal path. Can you see it now? Where P will be after half cycle, after half turn, P will be at the topmost point. This P point, which I have taken one red dotted point here. Again, it will reach here at the bottommost point. So this wheel is turning, it is rolling. Okay. Are you getting this idea?
Yes, sir.
If I take a wheel on this cycle, if I take a point on this cycle and I wheel of the cycle and then I turn that wheel, then I make that wheel roll on the horizontal ground, then I will notice that this point actually moves this kind of path. If you want to conduct this experiment yourself, you should have a wheel and maybe some laser pointer. You just attach that laser pointer to the wheel. Okay, then roll the wheel and notice what mark the laser will, what path the laser pointer will means follow on a wall, which is parallel to the path followed by the wheel. You can do this experiment actually, and you will notice that this will follow this kind of path, right? And this path is called as cycloidal path. What is name given to it? Cycloidal path. This is cycloidal path. This path it will follow. And how do we know that this path followed will be same? We should be able to relate also that this is same or not. How is it same?
Both circular and translatory.
Because this is also circular, superimposed with translatory motion. It is also circular, superimposed with translatory motion. Okay. It is circular in which frame? In the observer frame, it is circular. But in the ground frame, because ground frame will be different from observer frame, when in a moving frame, it will appear to be circular. Similarly, if I take an observer here and I make the observer move with some velocity which is equal to the velocity of the center here, the observer velocity is equal to velocity of center, then in his frame it will become circular or not? In his frame it will become circular. Okay, so that is how this path is. Anyway, we understood what is the shape of path, cycloidal. Now one more.
Sir,
Yes.
what is the special cycloidal path, sir?
What? It is a
What is a specific property will be in the trajectory?
specific property of the cycloidal path.
Yes, sir.
You are asking that?
Hmm.
Property means this also, I don't know which property you want to understand. There are many properties, I think so, and I don't remember also all of them, many of them. But the thing is, what property you would like to know? For us, it is good enough that it is a path which looks circular if seen from a special frame.
Okay.
And this other thing, it is good enough that when a rolling wheel is there and there's a point on the rolling wheel, that point on the rolling wheel follows a cycloidal path. Okay, and there are some other properties also, and if you are interested, I will maybe you do a net search, you will get many properties, many interesting properties of cycloidal path. Okay, I don't remember many of them right now. So fine. Next we have method to do this problem. Second method to do this problem would be, time is running out. I don't know what should I do. I think let us do one thing. Let me introduce the. I will cover this question again by other methods also. But before that, I would first like to take
Force acting
next
on
topic.
current
That is force acting on.
carrying wire.
That I will take. There are still some pending questions of motion of charges. I remind me, I will take this question also. It is an interesting question. But if I take that now, then it will take a lot of time, and we don't have that much time. And it's better to cover new topics so that you can start doing the questions of SC Verma. Otherwise, you cannot do its questions. I have to take this case where electric field, this is a capacitor, let us say plus minus spherical capacitor, and then electric field will be radial. And I will take a charged particle and I will make it accelerate in this electric field region. Then I can ask some question that what is the gap or what is the field so that the charged particle does not strike the second surface, or if it strikes, where does it strike? Such kind of question. Means the analysis which we have done so far, we have done for a parallel plate capacitor. That is too simple. It is just a projectile motion only. But now we want to do the analysis of the charged particle. What happens to it if it moves in a radial electric field? Then what kind of path it follows? Okay, that we will discuss, but not today because it is a complicated question. Today we will first take force acting on current carrying. Force acting on current carrying wire placed in external magnetic field B. This is our aim. We want to determine this. So if I have a wire carrying current I and having length L, what would be force acting on it if it is placed in external magnetic field? We know force acting is given by QV cross B. That is the magnetic force. All I need to do now, I need to see that what charge is moving inside this wire. So if I look at this wire closely, if there's a current here, actually electrons are moving in opposite direction, but I will assume as if the charged particles are positive which are moving. Because we know that if electrons are moving backwards, I can assume the charged particles to be moving, positive charged particles to be moving forward. So if positive charged particles are moving forward, then in which direction force will be felt by them if magnetic field is pointing into the plane? You're right, force will be
Upwards, sir.
upwards. What would be the value? Now, all electrons are not moving. Which electrons are moving? Only free electrons. So if free electrons are moving towards left, I can assume that some free positive charge is moving towards right, and number density will be same. N into E will be the charge which will be moving. So let us say it has area of cross section A and length is L. Then I can say charge will become Ne into A into L. Understood or not? N is number density into E, that is charge density. Charge density multiplied by area into length volume, that will be equal to total charge. So we know what is the total charge which is flowing. I want this total charge to be multiplied with velocity, drift velocity. So what will be Q into V? Q into V will be equal to
I into L.
I into
L.
NEAL into drift velocity. What is the drift velocity?
PD.
PD, sir.
What is value of that? I upon
NEA.
NEA cancelled. We can write it as I into L. Okay. What about
L cross B, sir?
then we get I into L cross B. Q into VD is nothing but I into L. I get I L cross B is the force. This is for a large current carrying wire. If I want to take just a element, small element, I could do this. I could just write DL, yes, right. In fact, let me write the formula in this way. DQ into V cross B, I can write as DFM, magnetic force. DQ by DT, I will write here because I know this can be written as DL by DT. Velocity can be written as DL by DT cross B. Are they same or not? Just think that this DT is here. I have brought it from here to this side. Then it can be written as I into DL cross B. That is the magnetic force acting on any small element. We don't have to derive it the way I derived above, not necessarily. This way is enough, good enough for us. Okay. And if I now integrate it, then I will be getting left hand side, I will be getting net force, right hand side, I will be getting the total length. Now, while we start integrating it, we have to be careful here. So first of all, let me circle this formula. It is important for us. New formula we are learning here is important. Now, while we integrate, we have to be careful. I DL cross B. Can we take B outside the integration?
If it is given constant. Yes.
First of all, even if I want to take B outside the integration, I can't do this. Because cross product is not commutative. I can't take B this side. If I want to take this side, I have to multiply with
I
negative.
integral DL cross B.
Or otherwise, I will do one thing. I will write I DL cross B. B I will keep in that side only. I will integrate it separately and I will multiply with B. So it will be I L cross B only. Okay. But in which case, if B is
Constant.
uniform, it does not change with in different parts of wire. It is not varying. If it is varying from one end to the other end, then I have to keep B inside only, and I have to write how B varies with distance x. And DL can be written as dx only in that case. Then I have to integrate it finally. Okay, keeping it inside only. And I may have to remove the vectors symbols also above it. I may have to just first write DL into B into sine theta, angle between DL and B, whatever that is, that I have to take. Anyway, now examples I can take. I can give you some, for example, let us say B is given as maybe some constant K divided by X. Direction is along, let me write constant as C. Direction is along minus K cap. Now find out what is the force applied by this on a wire which is placed along x-axis, and the wire is of length carrying current I, and the wire is of length L, and it is placed from it starts from maybe x equal to A to x equal to A plus L. Can you do this? Can you find out the force on this wire?
The magnetic field
Of length L carrying current along x-axis from x equal to A to x equal to a plus l. Magnetic field in region is given as magnetic field in region is given as this, is given as B equal to this. What was your question, Nilkanta?
Nothing.
Can you do it?
IC into ln of A plus L by A.
A plus L by A J cap, sir.
EIL into.
I think first of all, direction is B is
J cap.
into the plane. So I L cross B. We know I L means I have to take dx. Direction of dx is, what is the direction of dx? Direction of dx, I should have mentioned direction of dl will be always along the direction of current. If current is along I cap, then direction of dl will be along I cap only.
I cap.
So I cap and cross C by x along minus k cap integral. That will be I taken common, C taken common, dx upon x, and I cross minus k can be written as j cap. So we are left with I into C, limits from A to A plus L, and that force is equal to IC into ln A plus L divided by A. Okay, this is the answer. This question has practical significance actually, because this field which I have given, it is in reality a field due to infinite current carrying wire. If I have infinite current carrying wire which carries current from minus infinity to plus infinity, the field due to that around it is given by, you will come to know about it later on. Let me write it down now only. This field is given by mu naught into I upon 2 pi r. R is the distance. So it is, this field is, I is constant here, mu naught constant, 2 pi constant, means this field is inversely proportional to the distance from the current carrying wire. So that's why I gave this field. This we will do next week when we will do Biot-Savart law. One more thing I want to add here. If I have a wire of some different shape like this, how to do in that case? Let's say this is a wire. This is a wire and it will be going, it is going from point given here, A1 comma A2 to point B, which coordinates are given as B1 comma B2. Magnetic field is again pointing maybe into the plane.
Directly from A to B, we can take position vector by adding the individual vectors. Sir,
Wait, boys. Sir may be facing network problem, I think. Just wait. Hello, boys. ఉన్నారా?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
చిన్న అనౌన్స్మెంట్, అందరికి ఫోన్లు వస్తున్నాయా ఎవ్రీ వీక్ పర్ఫెక్ట్ గా? మరి సరే, నేను గ్రూప్ లో మెసేజ్ పెట్టాను ఫీ ఇష్యూస్ గురించి, మీ ఫీ డ్యూస్ గురించి కానీ వాటి గురించి. కొంచెం మేము మళ్ళీ మీ పేరెంట్స్ని అడిగేదాకా ఉండకుండా మీ పేరెంట్స్ కొంచెం చెప్పి ఎవ్రీ మంత్ అట్లీస్ట్ మినిమం 10,000 పే చేసుకుంటూ వస్తే లాస్ట్ లో ఏదన్నా హెవియర్గా ఉన్నా అది అంత బడ్డెన్ అనిపించదు. ఒకసారి ఆలోచించండి మీ అందరూ కూడా, ఎందుకంటే మేనేజ్మెంట్ అనేది అందరికీ శాలరీస్ ఇవ్వాల్సి ఉంటుంది, వర్క్ లోడ్ అనేది ఉంటుంది.
I think I had lost the connection. Can you
కొంచెం
hear me now?
ఎస్ సార్.
Right. So what was it? Ideal cross B. Can I take B outside or not in this? B is constant. Remember, only condition is that if B is constant, which does not change with the in space, then I can take B outside. Then what I will be getting? Its answer is so simple: I into L vector total cross B. And what is L vector total? L vector is nothing but A to B vector. I can take A to B vector, or I can take position vector of B minus position vector of A. That is L vector total. This is the shortest distance between A and B. From A to B, I can take it total this way, effective L vector. So this is really very simple to do. We can write it as I into what is L vector? B1 I cap plus B2 J cap minus A1 I cap plus A2 J cap cross B. What is B? B naught into minus K cap. That is finally equal to I into B1 minus A1 I cap plus B2 minus A2 J cap cross B naught into minus K cap. We can get the force, right? I cross K, that will be J. B1 minus A1
of B2 minus A2 I cap plus B1 minus A1 J
plus I into B naught into B2 minus A2. J cross K is
Minus J. Minus
minus K. Minus J will come. Minus I will.
minus I will come. So let me write minus in the beginning itself, and here it is I cap. This is it. This is the force. In which direction the force is acting? This force is acting in this direction, perpendicular to this element. Effective length element is there. Perpendicular to that, the force will be acting, because finally we are getting it as L cross B, perpendicular to L. Okay. Right. Always we can do this way. So whatever shape they may have given semicircular wire, or they may have given parabolic wire. Whatever wire they give, we don't care. We have to just see what is the shortest distance between the starting and the ending point. What if I give the the closed wire, starts from same place, ends at the same place? What will be the length vector then? What will be the length vector? Zero. So it is very important lesson learned. If I have such closed loop formed, then net force will become zero only. Net force will definitely become zero, right or not?
Yes, sir.
If as long as uniform magnetic field is there. So you can say force on current carrying loop, current carrying loop in uniform magnetic field equals 0. Why is it equal to 0? Because effective length vector becomes 0. So I L cross B becomes equal to 0. Okay. One more important result which we can get from this is, if I have a wire which is now carrying current in, let us say it is now there are multiple resistances connected in parallel. It was carrying current I, but then finally it is split into parts, and it is carrying now separately I1 and then I2 and then I3. Together they join again to form I, and they are asking what is the force acting on this. What do you think will be the force? This I1, I can treat this I1 as, let us say this is C here and this is D. I want to find out what is the force acting on this part where this current is split. Again, simple. As long as the magnetic field is constant, uniform.
I1 plus I2 plus I3 into AB.
Because I can write CD, it is I1. Similarly, I can write CD for I2. So I can get I into, in this CD part, I'm finding only I into CD, I1 into CD cross B, plus I1 into I2, sorry, I2 into CD cross B, plus I3 into CD cross B. Right or not? We can do this. This is the net force on CD part. Then what will be net force finally? I1 plus I2 plus I3 whole into CD cross B. Then it is very important lesson learned. Again, it doesn't depend on the current, how much, in what ratio the current gets split. Don't start looking for the resistor. They have not given the resistances. You will say they should have given resistances. How do we know in what ratio the current divides? We don't need to know in what ratio the current divides. We simply know that it will be finally as if it is single wire carrying still the same current I only. So what will be the total force between A and B? If you know the force between this, then you can find out between A and B also. Just directly connect A and B, take it as the total effective length L, and then finally write it as IL cross B. That will be the force on total AB. Okay. Understood? Say something.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Same way, they may try to make the thing look more scary and complicated by giving maybe a cube in which the current gets divided in such a complicated fashion. But whatever the case may be, if I ask you what is the force acting on the cube, what your answer would be? Only on cube I am asking. What is the force acting on the cube?
0, sir.
Not 0. Right? What are these boys doing really? Current is flowing through. It is not a closed loop.
I into root 3 into B cap.
How are you saying it to be 0 really?
So only cube you can.
Only cube? What do you mean by only cube? Current is flowing through the cube. It is coming from this branch here, and it is going to that side here. Current is I here. Now it may split into different ways. We don't know. Let us say the length is A. Length is A. The body diagonal will become what? Body diagonal will become root 3A.
Root 3.
But I don't need root 3 actually. That is wrong if you take root 3. I need here proper A I cap plus A J cap plus A K cap. I need length vector. And that I have to multiply with cross B vector. If I assume this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis, and this third one is wait a second, Z is, where is it going then? It is going towards negative z-axis. I should write A along minus K cap here. 1A is along minus K cap. Minus. That is the length vector. If I take a vector A to B, which is effective length vector here, that will be given by this, right or not? How is the total current entering? This will be the magnetic force. Are you understanding why this? My cube was placed in such a way so that this part goes along minus negative z-axis. Depends on the situation. Okay. Are you understanding this or not? It is just position vector of B minus position vector of A, that I can write. That is equal to AB vector. AB vector can be written as RBA, position vector of B with respect to A. Position vector of B with respect to A, or RB minus RA. So means RB is, what are the coordinates of this? It has coordinates A, comma, X is A, Y is also A, but Z is here minus A, comma, minus A. Therefore, I am writing in this. A has coordinates 0, 0, 0. And magnetic field, whatever the magnetic field may be, whichever direction it may be, we don't care. It may be upwards, the left side, right side, down side, or at some oblique angle. Whatever the value is, that we have to write here. And we have to multiply, and we will be getting the net magnetic force. Okay. Whatever complicated question they may give like this. There is a current carrying wire, and there is a sphere here, and this current spreads over the sphere. After spreading over the sphere, it merges again, and then again goes to the current carrying wire. Then also no problem. We know if they ask what is the force acting on the sphere. Radius of
I
the
into
sphere is R.
diameter.
Diameter will be 2R. So I into 2R vector
Into
form
the
properly.
vector.
It is along minus J cap.
Cross
So I into 2R minus J cap cross B. That will be the force we can get again. Okay. Right. Next is torque acting on current carrying wire. Torque acting on current carrying wire. Also, don't think that force is enough. Force is not finished yet. I have determined force only on which case? Only on the current carrying wire. But I will ask you, maybe you remind me tomorrow, because today time is less now. Tomorrow you remind me that what is to be done in force still. Current densities I have to take. No, I have not taken any current densities. If current is spread in a region, in a volume, or in area, then what will be the force on that area? Okay. Or it may be like this. I may give you this. Current may not be the real conduction current. It may be convection current. Convection current is also a current. Okay. Let us say I give you this situation. There's a capacitor plate carrying a positive charge. Another capacitor plate carrying a negative charge. This is moving with velocity v. Or just one capacitor plate having a positive charge moving with velocity v. What will be the force on that if it is placed in magnetic field? Now it is a convection current because current is not flowing through the material, but the whole material is charged and that is moving. As a result, the current is constituted. So it is a convection current. In that also the force can be determined. We will deal with such cases maybe. Okay. But before that, first, so that you should be able to do HC Verma, I have that in mind. So therefore, torque acting on current carrying wire. Torque acting on current carrying wire we can find by finding force on every element and then writing R cross F, and then we can get the torque. Okay. For example, this is a current carrying wire here. Which carries current in this direction. Okay. And then mass of this is M. We can find out the force acting on it. Once we know force, we can apply R cross F formula and we can get the torque. And due to torque, it may get tilted in one direction. Due to torque acting on it, it may get tilted in one direction. Like this, by some angle theta. From side view, I'm looking at it. And mg will try to bring it back. But magnetic force may try to move it in one direction. We can ask such question that what will be the angle turned when it stays in equilibrium? Can you do this also? What would be the angle turned when it stays in equilibrium? We can do it, right? So magnetic force is, if I have to make a magnetic force in this direction, tell me how should I give you the magnetic field?
And J cap.
Upwards, exactly right. You are understanding it properly. Very good. If I give you magnetic field upwards, I L cross B, then it will get tilted in one direction. It in our it will try to come out of the plane of the paper. If it tries to come out of the plane of the paper, then when we look from the side view, if I look from this side, then it will appear like this. It is side view. Okay, so you have understood, I think, and this value will be equal to nothing but b into I into length L of this, b into I into L. Okay, like this it is, and that is enough. I think we can get at what angle it will get tilted. Only problem with such questions is that they are not realistic situations. We can't have a current carrying wire which carries current from nowhere and goes to nowhere. Some other situation should be given. So if you are looking at such questions and your mind is very uneasy, then that is genuine only, because it cannot be like this. It will never happen like that. There should be some closed current carrying loop. So you can imagine some situations. Maybe there is some
So generator, sir.
there is some frictionless conducting sheet here. Here also conducting sheet. This is charged. This is also charged, and this is frictionless, so that this conducting sheet cannot apply force on it, but it can discharge from through the wire and it can send the current in that direction. Think like that. Or maybe some other situation, again not conducting sheet, but there's a battery which is connected to this, but it is connected with the help of those conducting sheets which are frictionless. Then in between those two sheets it can slip and it can just move in this direction. Imagine some situations like that. Okay, right. Next we have torque on current carrying loop. Torque on current carrying loop. Before writing that, let me define something called as magnetic moment. Magnetic moment of current carrying loop. I will define it as definition. Why I have defined in that way, we will come to know about it later on. Magnetic moment of a current carrying loop is defined as current I into area vector A. That is magnetic moment of a current carrying loop. Why we define, what is the use of that? Wait for that, you will come to know in the next week. But for the time being, you just understand that this is equivalent to the electric dipole moment. These are equivalent. It plays role of that. For example, what is the formula for torque? P cross E in case of electrical dipole. What is the formula for torque in this case? As you guessed, I think by now, M cross B. What is the formula for potential energy in that case? Minus P dot E, if you remember it, for electrical dipoles.
Yes, sir,
What is the formula for potential energy for this case then? I
minus
think you
mu
will
dot B.
minus mu, you are saying? You have read it somewhere, mu or what?
Sir, SC, sir.
SCV is saying, calling it as mu.
Magnetic moment, na.
He is calling it as mu.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you can represent by mu or you can represent by M. Okay, and it is good that you are reading yourself also before entering into the classes. Nice. So this is just equivalent to that. Okay, so torque can be obtained as P cross E and M cross, which is equivalent to M cross B. And it is just
area, sir.
A is the area of the loop. Any loop will have area or not?
Yes, sir.
Whether it, whatever the shape may be, it will have some area. Even if it is not in 2 dimensions, but it is extended to 3rd dimension like this. Maybe one is lying in one plane, other is lying in another plane. Then also no problem. We can still find out the magnetic moment. How? Let me tell you what we will do. It is y-axis, it is x-axis, and this third one is along z-axis, like this. Then here, what we are going to do, we will take separately. We will imagine that there's a wire here which carries current in this way, and there's another wire which carries current in this way. Net current will be 0 or not? If I take 2 wires carrying current in opposite direction, net current will be 0. But by this way, what I am able to achieve? I am able to make one closed loop and another closed loop. 1 of area A1. What will be the direction of the, by right hand thumb rule, we can get the direction. I think its direction is coming out in this direction, minus I cap. Let us call it A1 area. And the other one is by right hand thumb rule
Minus
coming out to be minus J cap. Let us be A2. So A2 will be, A2 vector will be A2 minus J cap, and A1 will be A1 minus I cap. What would be the magnetic moment now? Current is I. I have split single loop into two parts, and I can write I into A1 as for one part plus A2 for the other part. That will be net magnetic moment, which can be written as I into A1 along minus I cap plus A2 along minus J cap. We can write it in this way. Is it okay? Understood or not? We can write in this way. So
Yes, sir.
sometimes we may have to break a single loop which is lying in two different planes. We have to break it into sometimes two different loops. Okay, and then we can get the magnetic moment. Okay, and I can do for a single plane loop also. Let us say I have a, in one plane only I have a loop. Then also, although there is no use of doing that, but I can do that always. I can split it into several small loops, each loop carrying its own current. If I take all loops to be carrying current in same clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction, then what will happen? Then in the unnecessary branches which I have taken in between, in those branches, the currents will be in opposite direction, and those will always get cancelled out. So final current will be in which loop? Final current will be only in the outermost loop. In the inner loops, the currents will get cancelled out in the inner branches. Are you understanding? Okay, let me just one example. If I take, let me take one. Always we can split into any number of parts. Let us say I'm splitting into two parts. This inner branch is not existing in reality. It is just, I have taken it to split it into two parts. And then I am assuming that the current is going in this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And I am also assuming that the current is going in this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Observe now this red color direction and this other direction, this one. What happens to the middle branch here? In middle branch, they cancel each other. So I can imagine any loop to be composed of several small loops, each having its own magnetic moment. Net magnetic moment will be sum of individual magnetic moments. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. We can do always like that. And once we know magnetic moment, we can find out torque. When we cannot find out the torque easily, when magnetic field is variable. Again, if magnetic field is uniform, I can find out the torque as M cross B. But I can't do that if it is not uniform magnetic field. Then I have to do like this. Either I have to do dm cross d integral. How to get dm? As I told you before, a single loop I will split into several small parts, elemental parts. Each part will have its own magnetic dipole moment dm. For example, last case I took in which I said that B is varying with x-axis. Let us say it is x equal to a. It is x equal to a plus l, and B is varying as c by x along minus k cap. And this loop is placed in. There is a single loop here which has height h and width l. It is placed in xy plane. Can you find out what is the torque acting on it? How to find? Again, take a small element here. On this element, there is no such element. But as I told you, I can break any such loop. I can break into several small loops. I can do it always. What will be the torque on this little loop? That we can write as, what is the magnetic moment of this? What is the area of this? First of all, area will be dx multiplied by height, right or not?
Yes, sir.
H into
Yes,
dx.
sir.
And current, whatever current is for the bigger loop, same current we have to assume in all these small loops. And direction also I have to keep same only. It is clockwise, I have to keep clockwise only in every small loop. So H into dx. Clockwise direction means clockwise by right hand thumb rule. Clockwise refers to, by right hand thumb rule, clockwise refers to which direction? It refers
Downwards,
to
sir.
downwards. If it refers to downward direction, then torque will be 0, I think, right? Because dm will become parallel to minus k cap. there will be no torque acting on it.
Yes, sir.
Torque will be 0
Or
because they are
like
they are coming out in same direction. I think I should give B in some other direction, otherwise it is very easy.
horizontal.
But if I give horizontal, how to make it variable? I'm thinking about that. 5 to
Horizontal also X can be taken now.
if I take horizontally and then I let us do one thing. Let us take the direction to be not along k cap, but along I cap only, huh? Right or what?
Sure, better idea.
This side I cap. Right. This is hypothetical field, huh? I don't know such field will exist in reality or not. But anyway, if it exists, then we can determine the magnetic the torque acting on it, right or not? All I need to do is C by X into H into dx into I into vectors, unit vectors I will multiply separately, which is this is along minus k cap of
Minus K
magnetic
cap
moment
I
cross
cap
I cap, and then we can get it. But I'm
minus
just
J cap.
I'm suspicious, should we take it or not? Because although I may be giving it, it may be correct in one way, but it may become wrong in another way. Maybe such fields don't exist in reality. I was aware that C by X minus K cap I could take if I take a wire which is carrying current in this way. But if how to take if it is C by X I cap, I have to think about it. I can't give you some fields which don't exist. Or maybe I will ask this question for a hypothetical field. Let us ask it for a, let us say there is a hypothetical field which is like this. Then I can do it I cap, H minus K cap into I, that is dm, and B is equal to C by X I cap, and then I can integrate d tau. Tau will become equal to I taken common, H taken common, C taken common, 1 by X into dx inside. Direction is
Non-efficient
minus K cross I, which will be finally I H C limits from A to A plus L. So I H C ln A plus L by L, direction minus J. Okay. So it will have rotation about which direction? Minus J cap.
A plus L by A, sir.
A plus L by A. Minus J cap. It is rotating about minus J cap in for this particular scenario. Okay. So remaining I can take tomorrow maybe. Time is already over. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Try to do the questions of SC Verma.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.